Full disclaimer, I'm not about to bash the R12 GS. It's an amazing machine, it's a beautiful bike, and unfortunately it just wasn't quite what I was hoping for. So let's start with the R12 GS and the pros. That 1200cc boxer engine is hands down BMW's best engine ever, in my opinion. To my taste, in black with the Enduro pack, it's hands down the best looking bike out there. The fit and finish is second to none. It has 8 and 7 inches of suspension travel, which is pretty good. There's an Enduro pack option with an 18-inch rear wheel allowing more off-road tire options. And for tall riders, it has better ergos out of the box than previous Scrambler and UGS. Now for the cons. I'm just not a fan of the keyless ignition. To me, it's just something else that can go wrong, and it's not adding anything. It has a smaller gas tank, 15.5 liters. Though they claim range is similar to the previous Scrambler, they could have increased range instead of reducing the volume. The SOS button is a pretty ugly thing, and it feels a bit like an afterthought. The idea is really good, but the integration could have been improved. It's extremely expensive for a naked bike with an engine that's based off of the 2010 R1200 GS. It's a great engine, but I think the molds and development were paid for many years ago. The deal breaker for me was the suspensions. Now bear with me, we'll get to that in a minute. So I had a deposit on a 2026 R12 GS with Enduro pack with taxes and a few options. I was at around $26,000 Canadian. The only thing left was to test ride it before buying, which where I live is almost impossible. You often just have to take a guess and hope for the best. A lot of dealerships don't have demo bikes, or they only have a few demo bikes of certain models, and it's just really difficult. In this case, a dealership was kind enough to let me try a bike that was on the showroom floor that wasn't a demo, so I couldn't play with the suspension settings, and they only let me do like 1 or 2 kilometers. I fell in love with the bike. Everything was silky smooth. The throttle response, the clutch, the brakes, the engine, the handling, the quick shifter. I was drooling. That's until I started hitting a rough patch of road. It felt way harsher than it should have for what it is. It reminded me of my first gen Triumph 1200 XE that gave me back pain. The rear was firmer than my UGS. The front was almost as soft as my DR650. It felt like the front and rear were taken off 2 different bikes, and most importantly, the comfort was too far off for the kind of roads I do and the type of mileage I do. For me, 500 or 600 kilometers in a day is pretty standard on weekends. That's when I started thinking, what if I buy a used UGS but this time I'd go all in and spend on completely replacing the rear shock and having cartridges installed in the forks. As a bonus, I was already getting heavy-duty crash bars, lowered pegs, bar risers, a windscreen if I ever need it, Hepco and Becker rack for longer trips, and it was freshly serviced. This includes a valve adjustment, all fluids and filters replaced, spark plugs, and when I left the dealership, I realized the front rotors were completely warped, so they replaced those within the 30-day warranty. The bike only had 26,000 kilometers. So the pros of this option, you get the same sweet engine full of low-down torque that still revs and keeps accelerating with ease. Actually, it can be deceivingly fast. Cruise control will be your best friend to keep yourself out of trouble. It has a larger tank. They claim 17 liters, but it's more like 19 liters, and I get around 300 kilometers before running out of gas. Well, actually, I ran out of gas at around 320 kilometers. There's no keyless ignition and key fob battery to think about, just the basic key that works every time. It's Euro 5, so the exhaust is a bit raspier. In my case, the valve cables were removed by previous owner, so it's always open, and it sounds a bit like if a chainsaw and an airplane had a child. The cons. Well, it doesn't quite look as good as the new one, though it still looks pretty good in my opinion. It has less suspension travel if you plan on jumping the bike, but then again, if that's your goal, there's many better options out there. This remains a wide and heavy bike that I wouldn't recommend for some really hardcore technical off-roading. For dirt and gravel roads though, it's amazing. I paid about $11,600 Canadian, fully serviced, well equipped, and even after adding $5,000 and even a bit more in suspensions, I'm still a good $7,000 to $8,000 under what I would have paid for an equivalent R12 GS. Before also having to address the suspensions on that one, so probably more like $9,000 or $10,000 in savings, for basically the same engine, same character, great looks, and now that I've addressed the suspensions, it's also comfortable. With all that said and done, if I had an unlimited budget, I would have gone with the R12 GS and taken the risk of maybe having to invest in the suspensions. Maybe it just needed to be tuned as well. I don't know, I wasn't allowed to play with it. So, if you are the owner of an R12 GS and you found the perfect settings, please share in the comments. I'm sure it will help other owners. And if you decided to change the spring rate or the valving, also please share in the comments. Who knows, I might even buy a used one of these in a few years. So thanks for watching, guys, and ride safe.